then, Fraser. Rangers easy okay, right, son, saying the Queen's Park game is humiliating. But yesterday was one of the worst Rangers performances I've seen at Ibrox, and I include our stint in the lower leagues. Absolutely disgraceful. Is that an opinion you would go along with?
Oh, absolutely. The manager, or possibly soon-to-be ex-manager, admitted it himself afterwards when he said it was the worst display of his tenure at Ibrox. And to be fair, he's got a fair few to choose from. Worse than Queen's Park, at least they peppered the Queen's Park goal for 90 minutes. But yesterday, I counted it for the 8th minute when Jack Butland played a ridiculously sloppy pass straight to Jonah Ayungu, and was forced to pull off a save to dig himself out a hole. From that moment onwards, negativity swept round the stands again. It fed into the players. Forward passes, there was no forward passes for Rangers players. Everything was safe or backwards. No momentum at all. Rangers just can't seem to boss a game the way Celtic do, the way good teams do, the way Rangers should do at home in the Scottish Premiership. They can't manage games. They can't control the tempo of the team. Many times this season they're relying on moments to win games. And yesterday, when the moments aren't there, when the magic isn't there from their match winners, there's nothing to fall back on. St Mirren bullied them. They were far stronger than them in every area of the park. St Mirren closed them down, didn't let them breathe, and absolutely deserved the victory. And you could tell from Philippe Clement's demeanour at the end of the game that this was end of day stuff. I think he knew off the back of that Scottish Cup car crash to Queen's Park in their last outing at Ibrox that there's no surviving this one. This was a kind of performance that gets managers sacked, never mind Rangers managers. And yeah, it now appears we're at that stage where the big red button's finally going to be pressed.
I found myself in the territory yesterday where you feel really sorry for him now. I mean, when he was getting asked in his post-match presser, you do realise the fans have completely left you now. I feel like this is almost a humane decision to kind of put him out his misery almost.
Hard to feel sorry for guys that are weighed in so heavily for doing a job in a basically an entertainment business that we all love so much. I don't think these guys go into these jobs knowing exactly what's coming. Very few managers leave or go through a career without getting sacked. And if you don't deliver at Rangers and Celtic, then it's inevitable. I mean, Swanee mentioned the great start he made as Rangers boss, and it was right. It mirrored Michael Beale's as well, who also went about 13 wins in a row after taking over at Ibrox. And then something seems to happen after 3 or 4 months where the form plummets. And this season, it just seems that Rangers haven't been able to go 3 games in a row without an absolute disaster happening in the park. Queen's Park was the lowest of the low, but it appears that defeat on Saturday and the nature of it is what's going to kill him. And Rangers fans, the Ultras group, Union Bears, they staged that walkout during the St Johnstone game in January, which kind of backfired on them a bit as the rest of the fans that stayed in the stadium kind of booed them. The sight of thousands, if not tens of thousands, walking out after that second St Mirren goal went in yesterday, that was far more damaging to Philippe Clement. And that won't have been missed by Patrick Stewart or the Rangers board. That was fans genuinely voting with their feet, an emotion-led walkout. And there was still 30 minutes to go, but they had zero belief that this team was going to claw back a 2-goal deficit. And do you know what was really telling? The fourth official, I think it was Grant Irvin, held up the board to show there was 9 minutes of injury time to be played. That would normally bring a rousing roar from the crowd, willing their team to go on, and 2 goals in 9 minutes is possible. They actually booed. Those fans that were left behind booed the fact they were getting 9 extra minutes to try and claw this back. They'd had enough. I heard one shouting, "Ben, may put us out of misery. Finish it now." And that just summed up the feeling of the afternoon.
Swanee, Fraser makes a good point, though. I mean, Greg here writes in saying another time and place, Clement could have been a good fit for Rangers, but wrong time and place. He says time for Derek McInnes. But as Fraser says, it seemed when he first came in, he looked like the right man for the job. He got them in this win and run. And a lot of Rangers fans would probably say he probably should have won the title last year.
Yeah, the guy certainly got himself into the position to do so. abetted by Celtic sort of letting things slip a little bit and from the period when they were in front. I don't know why that is. Fraser referenced, obviously, the Michael Beale start. He had some things to say when he left, but he didn't feel things were working behind the scenes the way he wanted them and things like that. We don't know what exactly is happening behind the scenes, but is it something similar again? How can you go from being, you know, sailing along so beautifully and then all of a sudden it goes falling apart? Listen, we've been over it time and again about the people that are missing in the background and, you know, the lack of the sporting director and all that stuff. Philippe Clement touched upon it again on Friday in his press conference that for 8 months he was the guy who was speaking about every single thing. He was the guy who was having to speak about stands not being available to be open and things like that, and that's not how it should be. Whatever it is, something has derailed him. There might be something equally in the fact that I know it's that a lot of the players are different, but it seems to be whenever expectation comes upon the Rangers, any of these recent Rangers teams, they just can't handle it. Michael Beale's team won, you know, all those games in a row. When it came to the crunch points of this, they got themselves to a position for the semi-finals and the finals against Celtic, fold. They got themselves into the position last year to win the title, fold. Expectation this season, fold. And it's happening time and again. So I don't know why that is, but as for Clement, it's very, very difficult to put a finger on why it's gone so spectacularly wrong in the manner that it has. It may just be the Glasgow Blender. You hear about people talking about it all the time. It just becomes too much for people. The constant strain, the constant attention, the constant being looked at. And that goes for players, but it's tenfold for a manager of Rangers or Celtic. You need to be made of special stuff to handle it. And quite clearly, you could tell by the way Philippe Clement's interviews had changed and some of the stuff he was coming out with, things had got on top of him.
Yeah,